Cobra! La, 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 la.
And that sound means it's the start of another Missal for the masses. I am your host, Gary.
And I'm Casey.
And this is the Chaplain's Assistance Motorpod. This is the podcast that's centered around the vehicles, playsets, and even trailers of the G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero toy line from 1982 to the present day. We also talk G.I. Joe and connected comics, and sometimes figures and other military and adventure toy lines. So, good evening, Casey. How is it going in your life of collecting?
That's going really well. Got a lot of nice stuff this week, so can't complain.
Yeah, you were talking earlier about that original artwork you got.
Yep. Brett Booth. It was a Bloodshot issue. I love Valiant Comics, and I was very happy to get that off eBay at a really good price.
Yeah, and you showed me. It's really nice. He's, I enjoyed his work on. He did a lot of DC work, if I remember correctly. So I've enjoyed his work. And obviously Bloodshot and Valiant.
And he did a lot of Image too back in the day. He took over, did some Wildcats and stuff like that.
Okay. So yeah, I managed to get in the mail today. I got my Once a Man Cobra Commander. So like I said last Missal, anything connected to Cobra Law is going to draw me in. And so Once a Man, I'm happy. And now I got to maybe find a cheap roadblock to wrap him around. But well, we'll wait and see about the other Cobra Law guys. I haven't even opened them yet. He's still in the shipper, so
Yeah.
been busy.
I don't, like I said, I don't do classified. I got rid of 90, maybe 95% of my classifieds. But I'm with you on the Cobra Law stuff. When they do Nemesis Enforcer, I will get that because that looks amazing. But it's just going to have to be something I really want for me to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's cool and it's unique. That being said, if Super 7 was to do a Reaction Plus version of this character, I might not be so enthusiastic to have it. It's one of those things. I got it off of Hasbro Pulse. I was one of those lucky people that found a loophole in their ordering system, so I managed to score it. And just to pay the sticker price, it was worth it. Just to get one in hand.
Yeah. I thought it was just going to be a pre-order. I didn't know it was ready to go.
Yeah, it said shipping middle of September, and I'm like, okay, it'll be what it'll be. But then when I ordered it, and then like 2 days later got the shipping notification, I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Well, that's cool.
With all the drama surrounding it.
I love all the memes.
The best one was the one where they did the insurance company commercial where the guys with the fishing rod. Oh, almost had it.
I like the one that was like had a bunch of older guys just drinking and laughing, and it says, "Then we put it in stock, out of stock, in stock." It was just so funny.
It earned all those memes.
Oh yeah.
I feel sorry for everybody that's still frustrated by it.
Yeah, I hope everybody wants one gets one.
Yeah. I have my friend in Norway, he's asked me about 2 other things from the classified line that I can hopefully score for him. I still haven't managed to find a Tiger Paw and Wreckage. And I haven't, and I guess the pre-orders again are opening for the Stinger again soon. So
I thought it was shipping. Somebody said it was shipping.
Yeah, I saw something the other day, and it's Saturday the 10th now, but I saw something like August 18th or 19th. It's going back up for order.
Nice.
So if that's the case, I'm going to try to be there that day and get it for my friend. Um, my biggest concern when I saw pictures of the vamp and then I saw Clutch with his helmet above the roll bar.
Yeah.
That's my biggest pet peeve with even the vintage vamps. So I was just like, I was happy I noped out of that.
Yeah, actually, I love my vamp. I kept that.
Yeah, I think it's very handsome. I just think it needed a little tweaks, but I don't think it's fair for me to review something I don't have.
Right.
But maybe we should. That's a segue for something that we both have, and that is the 1988 Cobra Imp. And this was Casey's idea again.
Blame me.
So Casey came up with two choices for tonight's episode. One was obviously the Cobra Imp. Do you remember your other choice, Casey?
Cobra Stone.
And I covered that one a long time ago. And it's so obviously I didn't choose the Cobra Stun. I'm sorry, Casey.
It's all right. I like the imp.
But I did a little bit of research on this, did some reading up, and got mine off the shelf. My recently organized complete vehicle shelf, and just going into this recording had a little surprise, and we'll be talking about that in the what to look out for, what to look out for portion of it. So if it's your first time listening to the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod, welcome. We're going to go over the vehicles, playsets, or trailers of the G.I. Joe Real American Hero toy line. And typically we talk about the box, then we talk about the driver, if applicable. Then we'll go over the blueprints. Then we'll talk about, assembly pieces. And then we'll talk about play and other things related to that and give it a rating at the end. Not always necessarily in that order. Sometimes we jump around as the conversation takes us. So, Casey, I think we're ready to start talking about the box.
Okay. This is my first time seeing the box because I got my imp at, I want to say, Winterfest a couple years ago. And it didn't come with the box, obviously. But it's pretty cool. Who's driving it there?
So, yeah, on the box art, we have the Toxo Viper
Okay.
driving the imp stage left. So we're looking at the right side of the imp. You got the tracks, you got the red body, you have the label on it that says Imp 095. Toxo Viper's firing off the machine gun in front. You got one of the three missiles launching in the back. You have another missile in the background exploding, laying out the mines.
Right.
You have the digital explosion back. This image that we have that we're looking at together is from 3djoes.com, an excellent resource by Carson Metaxas. On the box, it says G.I. Joe, Cobra, Enemy, a Cobra Command weapon, Cobra Imp, with 3 ambush missiles. Weapons do not shoot. Figures sold separately. See back panel for actual size and contents. Ages 5 and up. Some assembly required. No tools necessary. And also on the box on 3D Joe's, it says free metallized Super Trooper action figure with 4 special proofs of purchase and $1 handling details inside. So that was the promo. There's a store sticker from the Big Wheel, $6.99.
I've never heard of the big wheel.
No, neither have I. The box is credited to Paige and Greg Wagner. So it'd be interesting to look up Big Wheel. I wonder if they're even still around.
Right. But I really do like how this box looks. I think it's got plenty of action showing you, the playability of the imp. looking at it, I really wish I had the stickers for mine because I think the yellow on this type, the color of red really pops, and I love that writing on the side and yeah, the red or the yellow Cobra emblem on the front. It's a really neat looking little vehicle.
Yeah, and the red reminds me, especially in this year of Cobra, of this year of GI Joe, a lot of synergy with the Iron Grenadier faction.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of these things were thought of like, oh, is this going to be the Iron Grenadiers or not? And this was like, you know, didn't make the cut. It's really just a sticker swap away, and then you park this alongside your Demon or your
Yes,
Destro's Dominator or your, you know,
you know,
Razorback.
for the longest time, I thought this was an Iron Grenadier vehicle. It's up there next to my Demon. But about a year ago, I realized it wasn't. But I still liked how it looks, so I left it next to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things I was looking at this, uh, you know, during doing my prep, and I says, I know why Casey chose this. Uh, he probably likes you probably like the shape of the vehicle, and you probably liked, the fact that it's pretty close to a Destro oriented vehicle too. So yeah, no, it's a handsome picture. It's does a great job of showing you what the imp is right on the front of the box.
I bet Mars Industries did make it.
Well, read along, we'll find out. Uh, so flipping the box over, we are looking at the back, and it says Cobra Imp, GI Joe, a Cobra command weapon. When Cobra wants to, in quotes, bottleneck, end quote, the Joes into a corner, it deploys the imp to keep them contained. Its three, quote, ambush, unquote, surface to surface missiles can destroy a Joe outpost within seconds. So going around the vehicle, we have the three silver, three removable ambush missiles. Missiles disperse 24 landmines. It has a posable missile rack, super realistic detail, rolling wheels, track treads, sturdy construction for rugged play, actual size shown, rotating laser gun. It is one flag point. Important. Enclosed are top secret blueprints of an actual Cobra Imp. Add them to your Cobra Command files, and it can get right along. The contents: upper and lower hull halves, red plastic, two dumbbell wheels, yellow plastic, right and left track treads, black plastic. The gun's in yellow. The missile rack is in gray. You have three missiles, which are two parts of like a silver metallic plastic. 24 landmines in the same yellow as the laser gun and the two dumbbell wheels. GI Joe folder, label sheet, instructions, and blueprints.
Okay, looking at the back of this, great picture. But does your gun have the handle on it?
Ooh,
Because
good.
mine does not.
And mine does not either. My handle is to the side.
Yeah, mine too.
So one real quick scroll, and even the one on 3D Joe's is a
Is
side
on the
mount.
side. Yeah.
So that's an interesting, I would say, choice for that. Did you also notice that the handle for the laser gun is on the opposite side of where the figure is?
Mm-hmm.
So in on the uh, the the front of the box, it kind of implies that the laser gun is kind of central in the front, and that your character can stand behind it. Maybe your driver, if it's not directly center and it's offset to the left, then your driver's offset to the left. The toy is absolutely not like that.
Right. And the handle actually, like the steering thing, looks bigger on the back and more towards the back of the little console.
Yeah, great notice. They also changed like the towing cleats in the front. I'm seeing that.
Yep.
Yeah, other than that, it's pretty faithful.
Mm-hmm. Looks good either way.
Yeah, so another thing about the Cobra Imp is it is covered in Creating G.I. Joe Volume 13 by Dan Klingensmith. And looking it up, just a little thing, it was designed by Greg Bernston, and originally it was supposed to be battery powered.
Huh.
So it was originally designed for batteries, and then they did a slight redesign of it once the electronics or the electric parts were taken out of it.
Probably cut the price back in half too.
I can't recommend these books enough, and I don't really want to, spoil, something that somebody might want to discover. But it was supposed to be motorized with like pre-programmed, going forward and backward, or maybe even turning, and also something to do with, raising and lowering the missile racks.
That would have been cool.
And I don't think this would be an affordable toy at that point. This would be somewhere in the realm of, almost like a Crossfire or a Mobat. And I'm just going to say that would be, I don't think that would add value to this toy. It wouldn't, with the missile system needing
Mm-hmm.
to be manually played with, not as automatic, not like a tank where you just point the turret and, shout bang, and then, you take your finger and, topple over your figures. It just, I don't think the same, it wouldn't be the same. Like it would be, like a peg warmer, because I think it would just be too expensive for what the plate value is.
Right, because if we go back to the front of the box, it was only like almost $7 in 1988, and if they did all that to it, it'd probably been up in the 20s, right?
Yeah, if 1987 had the Crossfire,
Uh huh.
which was, I remember it was like it was about a $30 toy. I remember that on the shelf in Bradley's. Yeah, so like you said, this thing would be in the 20s.
Yeah.
And I just quickly went over to yojo.com, and they're saying that the MSRP on Yojo's, that the MSRP was $399.
Oh yeah.
And you think about it, a figure in 1980 was about $299,
Uh huh.
$249 to $299. Yeah, like you said, that's a big price difference. And this thing's, only one flag point. So this is definitely, one of the more affordable vehicles of the Joe line. But the other thing too is this also came out the same year as the Cobra Adder, which is similar in the fact that it launches two large rockets. They don't have the play value of the exploding mines, but it's very similar in play. You raise the rockets, you fire them off, and then the only other big difference is it doesn't have a gun in the front. If you can believe it, it's actually a cheaper vehicle, and it has 6 rolling wheels. So this it's kind of weird. It's I had the Adder as a kid. I remember picking the Adder out at the store.
Mm-hmm.
8, 9 years old. I'm trying to figure out why I wouldn't have chosen this over the Adder, because it should be about the same price.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't have either one, so but I was 88, so like 16.
Yeah, and I just quickly went to and looked it up. The Adder was $1 less, so I know exactly why I got the Adder, because Mom said she could afford to buy me the Adder.
It's good reason.
Yeah. Mom, how much did I get? You can get one figure or a vehicle. Well, I could use another vehicle. So, yeah. So, I'm also surprised for $1 more, you don't get another flag point. So it's still just one flag point. So,
If it was $2 more, they probably would have gave you another flag point.
all right, ready? You want to go? Let's go over the blueprints.
Sure.
So, looking at the blueprints, aside from building it, looking at the side of the blueprints that has the sticker placement and the Cobra Imp and the 12 bullet points about the vehicle. Starting off with number 1, the ingress egress operations seating area. So I think that's just a very fancy way of saying this is where you put your figure. And it's really just inside it is just this little semi-hollow cavity of, like to have a little bit of a seat, and the character doesn't really sit down in there. He kind of just leans back.
Yeah.
Not really much to speak of. It leads to like a viewing monitor with like a control stick in the front. But even the control stick doesn't look like a real control stick. It looks more like almost like one of those like warning lights that should be installed on Boeing 737 Maxes.
So it's just slightly bigger than a foot peg.
Yeah, or slightly smaller, depending on how you look at it.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of plain. And the blueprints are not doing it any justice. I'm looking quickly through the blueprints. It doesn't talk about the little monitor or screen in the front. That'd be your information system where you're getting your, targeting or, your speed or, other things to communicate as you're piloting and operating the vehicle. So that's there in the ingress egress operations seating area. It's just like an ingress and it's like ingress and egress. Yeah. You put your figure in, you take your figure out, it's like just, uh yeah, it's one of those, I don't know what you call it, but it's just like verbal diarrhea sometimes on these blueprints.
Right. Yes.
So go to point number 2, the super reinforced personnel protection housing. Basically the armor that protects the figure from getting shot. Uh it is. Now we get to point number 3, the in quotes short throw, end quote, 50 cal spring mounted machine gun. Now on the box it calls it a laser gun, and on this it's calling it a 50 cal. What do you think, Casey?
It looks like a laser. Yeah. It looks like a laser, which as part of GI Joe, I'm okay with.
I'm okay with it too, but just let's be consistent with the marketing on this thing.
Right.
I agree. It's lasers. 8-year-old Gary is making pew pew sounds. He's not making machine gun rat-tat-tat-tat, sounds
Yeah.
with it. So, um, if they really were in love with the 50 cal idea, then blow this up, make it classified size, and make a belt to feed into it. I'm just going to say that right out now. Go to point number 4, the Heat Detective H10-57 infrared seeking guidance system. So that's pointing to the front of the silver missiles.
Okay.
But we move further back on that same missile. We get point number 5, the microprocessor based DC servo operated lift control surfaces. So it's pointing to the front fin of the missile. I think it's probably supposed to be pointing to the yellow, like ratchets that go into the imp.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So the lift control surfaces, as I recently discovered, are non-functional on my imp. So, so Casey, tell me what they're supposed to do if they're not broken.
Supposed to come up and makes that wonderful sound up and down so you can launch it.
So Casey's flexing right now. So
To be fair, one half is broke.
okay, we'll talk a little bit about that. That's coming up. We get to point number 6, the infrared imaging programmable IMP missile. So that is pointing to the mine section of the missile. So they're talking about the whole missile itself. It's the IMP in quotes missile. So that IMP is short for, it's an acronym for infrared imaging programmable. So it should be almost like IIMP, but
Yeah,
you know, GI Joe acronyms, they go together like peanut butter and jelly.
they definitely take liberties with their acronyms.
Yeah, they do. It just frustrates my OCD.
Yeah, but as a kid, it sounded cool.
Yeah, but it was still $1 more than it had to hurt. Oh gosh. All right. Anyway, so number 7 is the in quotes stop jam, the electronic countermeasure data system. So that's right. It's not a countermeasure. It is a countermeasure. So I guess if you're throwing chaff or flares, this is to counter the chaff or flares that are supposed to redirect the missile. We'll go to point number 8, the Mark 53 Big Blast solid propellant rocket engine. So they made 52 before this one. It shows that, you know, Mars Industries or whomever made a lot of progress when coming up with these missiles. We get to number 9, the super smooth sealed bearing track bogey. And that's pointing to one of the 3 roller idler bogies on each tank tread. We'll get to number 10, the Dragon 3 Super Duty 400 brake horsepower turbo diesel engine. And that is hidden underneath the 3 missiles and the 3 missile rack. It looks kind of like a turbine engine. Looks like it has a big, 55-gallon drum for maybe fuel. Has a lot of molded in details. It's easy for me to see this because I took mine apart for the review, so I could see things a little bit better, and because mine is broken. And it looks good. It even has a couple gauges and like little bolts and stuff molded into the red plastic. Any comments you got on that?
No, it's always the thing I've always wondered is, and I know it's because of cost, but I would love to see like the motor be a different color than the outside. It's just a little nitpick of mine.
I've always said that all GI Joe vehicles, and I do mean all, could always benefit from some customization touches. You get multicolor Sharpies or whatever the medium of choice is for the artist within you and the capabilities of the artist within you. There's always all these details that are just ripe for to be brought out, and this one's no exception. The vehicle itself is overall this big, lots of red,
Mm-hmm.
block red, but they molded in all this detail where a lot of, I still think the detail on the GI Joe toy is above and beyond anything else you would get in 1988 for $3.99.
For sure, yeah.
The plastic's chunkier. It just has a much more quality feel, and like and like the other thing too about the one thing I always say about the GI Joe toy line is the guys making this stuff really, you could almost sense it was more than a job to them. It's like they really cared about putting out a nice product for kids and families to enjoy of all budgets and collecting styles and play styles.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's why GI Joe has lasted as long as it has. You know, it seems like there's always people who love the line, and it just makes it so much. But there's so many toy companies that come and go, different lines, and they don't amount to anything. But you take GI Joe, you take Motu, those are long lasting lines.
Um, really, there's only two more things left. Point number 11 is on the tracks. It's called the track propulsion motor access panel, which to me doesn't really point to anything. On the track, it points more to a gap in the treads. And okay. And then finally, we get point number 12, the cross link hardened steel tracks. So that is the tank treads.
Yep.
No mention of drive bogey. So just want to point that out. But yeah, that would be the rearmost bogey on this thing. So Casey, you picked another tank. You know what's after going over all these points. You know what's some thoughts?
You know, when I came across this a couple years ago, didn't know much about it. This is the most I've ever known about it. Honestly, this has been really fun. But I love the missiles. I love how it comes up and you can launch them. I love the idea of the missile kind of bursting out and dropping landmines. It's a really versatile little tank that didn't cost a lot of money.
Yeah, so you didn't have it as a child. I didn't have it as a
No.
child. So I was thinking about, preparing. I'm thinking about playing with this. I haven't put a lot of miles on my imp since I've gotten it. And I'm thinking about like in battle, it's kind of an artillery piece where
Hmm.
you're launching the missiles, but it has this weird thing where the missile breaks apart and spreads landmines. So it's kind of defensive artillery. The only thing I would have probably done, or I would probably still do, is I would think that the nose of my missile would continue to be a warhead
Yeah,
and
that's
try
what I was thinking.
and strike the Joes.
It's a multitasker.
I think it's a brilliant idea to drop mines from the air. I think it'd be interesting to be the technology that would prevent the mines from exploding when because most mines are pressure released.
Right.
So you're going to have a point of pressure when it explodes in the air or separates in the air and they drop to the ground.
You think that would explode then too?
Bingo. So that would be another interesting way to do that. Be almost like a napalm drop.
Yeah. I would say in my head, when they come apart, they blow up when they hit the ground. So not really defensive in my head, more offensive, spread it out a little bit, mass casualties.
Yeah, that would be that's evil. That's pretty
Yeah.
that's pretty evil. Yeah. Yeah,
That's how I see
so
it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean you got the laser gun in front, right?
Yep.
So even after your missiles are expended, this thing isn't completely useless.
Mm-mm.
So it is running in a diminished capacity. I mean, its offensive capability is much more limited, but this is a weapon that I can see Cobra using, like you said, offensively. I could see them also using this like in a siege tactic. If they've pushed if they've pushed the
Oh yeah.
insurgents or the Tucaros or the Joes back, they could launch this to prevent them from re-advancing. Or if they're in a siege position, launch these missiles over the walls and bomb them from inside.
Okay, in my head, I could see Pyrenees with a maggot. A couple of these alongside a maggot. I think that would be an awesome little
That would actually
siege.
be a great fire team. That's a great way
Yeah.
to do it. So, okay, so the box shows a Toxo Viper piloting the Imp. Do you have anybody in mind that you would put behind the wheel of an Imp?
All right. I'm thinking Cobra Trooper, Cobra Viper, or if you got a couple extra worms laying around for your fire team, use them. Colors might clash though,
Actually, I think
but
the worms would work really well with this color-wise. I'm thinking Techno
okay.
Viper. I think a Techno Viper would
Oh
work really
yeah.
well. I also think I'd put a guy like Metalhead in this. I think he's crazy enough to do it. By that, I would also do like Scrap Iron, because like you said, this does have a solid Destro vibe. Um,
Hmm.
Voltar, you can do any of the Iron Grenadiers really. It's small, but it really does pack a wallop. And yeah, so I mean, we're pretty much on the same page with who we'd who we'd pilot it. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of more dastardly Cobra agents that would, Major Blood. I can see Major Blood using this.
The two little foot pegs in the back. I don't think those are very well placed.
Well, I mean, that's carrying on the tradition from 1984's Cobra Stinger. Rocket exhaust. Don't worry about it.
It's fine. But yeah, I mean this. I mean you can put a lot of different Cobras in this thing. I think they probably only put the Toxo Viper in there because he came out at the same time. Try to push
Well,
that
no, that
sales.
was something that they changed about this time, was for a while they wouldn't have sometimes they wouldn't have a figure that was the same release year. So you'd get like sometimes, like, because they made the vehicles for more than 1 year. So like like a Havoc with like Flint on it or something like to that effect. It's like, well, oh, I really like this. It's 1980. It's like 1987 when you're buying the Havoc, but you can't buy that 1985 figure that's pictured inside of it. So that was a smart thing that
Right.
they changed on in the marketing side. So yeah, you got to push the Toxo Viper. I mean, the Toxo Viper works too because he's all geared up, and
Mm-hmm.
that works too. So going specialty Vipers, you got the laser gun in front, laser Viper. The blue's going to clash,
Yeah.
but it's going to work. Um, you have the supersonic fighters, the Lamprey or the Viper again. You got a lot of options for this thing.
Oh yeah. So many Vipers.
So many Vipers. Just throw them in there and, let them sort it out later.
I think the Frag Viper is an underrated Viper. That's just me.
Actually, that would work out well because as he can throw grenades on top of everything else.
Yep.
All right, so that's really about the field of play. So let's talk about things to look out for when purchasing the Cobra Imp. Casey, you got yours much more recently. So about how much did you pay for yours with one
Mm-hmm.
broken tab?
Like $10.
That seems to be a theme with you. $10. So
But I got it from a, Lost and Found Toys. They set up a lot of conventions, and I do a lot of business with them. So it probably goes for more, but he gave it to me for 10, and I'd probably give 20 for it. I really like the Imp.
I would tell you this. I would definitely give $20 for a complete unbroken one. Because
Mm-hmm.
so what breaks on these? So I have a broken tab on one of my tank treads, and I have two broken tabs for the ratcheting mechanism that holds the missile rack in place when it elevates up. So
I
yeah.
have one.
So if you're looking to purchase an imp, make sure those things are nice and intact. Obviously, you have 24 yellow little mines that
Yes.
that are commonly lost. I know I have extra mines for another imp in one of my parts bins. I mean, that's a lot of mines. I mean, a lot of little pieces.
Yes.
And you think about this, you buy an imp complete for $20. That's like spending less than $1 per mine if they're missing. Like
Yes.
like the way the GI Joe hobby has come, at least for me, where I bought collections and I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna put a vehicle together." Yeah, no, it's if you're looking on the lookout for an imp, again, it's all about condition, it's all about completeness. Nothing about the imp is egregiously expensive, so if you found one missing that was unbroken but missing a couple mines, you might spend $1 each for a mine. You might find a guy selling like 10 of them for, who knows, like $10 maybe. It's not that bad of a reinvest on the vehicle, but the big thing I think on this, more than the mines being missing, is really just checking out condition of tabs and making sure things aren't broken.
Yeah, I need to do a better job of that when I am buying vintage vehicles. Sometimes I just get that, oh my gosh, I had that as a kid. I gotta have it. It looks complete.
Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of us are suckers for things that appear to be deals. And you know, a lot of the sellers in our community are upfront and honest. And sometimes, like there was a time at Joe Fest, you're asking a guy questions about the vehicle, and he's just being barraged by like five people at once. You can't be like, "Hey, is this complete?" And the guy says, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah." It's like if the guy seems to be like he's being rushed, don't take his word for it. It's not, I don't think they're ever trying to really take advantage of you, but really, I can't. Part That's one great thing about doing this podcast is being able to talk about things to watch out for on these vehicles. So when you're in the moment, in the heat of the moment, you can be like, okay, I remember, that somebody said this is commonly missing or this is commonly broken. This is not a big deal, but this is. And I always say,
Right.
things can be replaced. Uh, sometimes broken toys are much more of a pain to fix than they are to just, replace them. Again, the old adage, what is your time worth?
All right. So I'm just checking on eBay for imps right now, and they're selling incomplete ones for $10, complete ones for 24, 30 maybe. So honestly, it's not that expensive of a toy, but it is a lot of fun with a lot of playability. I believe it's a really good little tank.
Yeah, I think the way we discussed the playability, the where you'd place it with, like you said, you see it as a front lines thing. I think I see it. You convinced me on that. I still think it's also a great vehicle to have, patrolling the terror drone.
Hmm.
There's a lot of play value in here, more than just on the surface of it being a cheaper, you know, GI Joe vehicle. So now I actually want to buy another one,
Yeah,
more than just the fact that mine's broken.
I got it in my head. Two of them with my maggot. I got that in my head now. I think that would be really cool.
All right. Well, Casey, do you want to rate this one first? We'll call it on the 0 to 5 mini mines.
I'd give it a solid 4. There's just, and 4 is a good score for me. I think I give it a solid 4. I think it's fun. I think it's not expensive. That's a big plus. But yeah, I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, taking the playability of it, the conditions, the affordability of it. I'm gonna be I'm gonna be a little bit under you. I'm gonna say it's like a 3.5 out of 5. I think I don't know. It's about the same thing. Maybe it just doesn't hit me as hard, but I do want more than
Yeah,
one. And it would
yeah,
look really good in a diorama with my Terradrome. It would look really good, like you said, with your maggots. It fits. It fits the Cobra thing. I like the shape of it. It's very Cold War Soviet, like you talked about during the Wolverine episode.
yeah.
It fits in that. The Cobra troops are marching along, and Cobra commanders saluting them as as this thing rolls by.
Springfield.
And that concludes this missile for the masses. This has been the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod, and thank you for listening. The Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod is hosted by Spotify for podcasters and is also found on many of the other popular podcatchers. Please like, share, review, comment, or otherwise interact with them, as it only helps to improve and grow this podcast. For more Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod, you can find me on social media at Chaplain Joe Pod on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Or you can send an email to chaplainjoepod@gmail.com.
And you can find me at Podcast from the Pit on YouTube. We do a live stream almost every Saturday morning. You can catch us on X, Instagram, Facebook. We do have a pretty lively Facebook group. That's a lot of fun with questions, just fun stuff to do. So check us out, Podcast from the Pit.
And the Chaplain's Assistance Motor Pod is the strange, but not estranged, nerdy little brother of The Pint, a pop culture podcast. And I don't say that because there's little doggy landmines all over my lawn. And with all of that said and done, one final missile for the masses: be decent to one another.
Take care, everybody.